My sister Clara had tucked my grandmother's ring into the silk lining of my purse while I was in the kitchen, helping our mother plate the anniversary appetizers. It was a heavy thing, 24-carat gold, with a sapphire that looked like a bruised eye, and it sat there in the dark of my bag like a ticking bomb. The scene that followed was a symphony she'd been rehearsing for decades. I watched it unfold in what felt like slow motion, the gasp, the frantic search, the way Clara's hands trembled, just enough to be noticed, but not enough to seem fake, as she moved through the living room. Then, the accidental bump of my purse off the mahogany chair, spilling its contents across the white linoleum, like a confession. The ring didn't just fall. It chimed against the floor. "Sarah?" Clara's voice was a fragile glass thread, vibrating with a manufactured heartbreak that could win awards. "Why is Grandma's ring in your bag?" Clara didn't just lie. She curated reality. To our parents, she was the daughter who stayed, the one who organized the 30th anniversary gala, the one who balanced the books, the one who remembered every medication schedule and every bitter resentment. I was the difficult one, the one with potential, that always seemed to curdle into problems. When she stood in that kitchen, the scent of vanilla frosting and expensive lilies thick enough to choke on, she wasn't the sister I grew up with. She was a predator who had finally cornered its prey. As our parents moved into the hallway to process the shock, their faces etched with that weary, familiar disappointment, Clara leaned in. "I didn't just want to beat you, Sarah," she whispered, her voice dropping into that terrifying calm monotone. "I wanted to erase you." The interrogation of the innocent, the minutes following the discovery, were a masterclass in psychological extraction. My father didn't yell. He just sat at the head of the oak table, his hands folded, looking at me as if I were a stranger he'd accidentally invited to dinner. "Just tell us why, Sarah," he said, his voice heavy with a fatigue that Clara had spent years cultivating. "Is it the money? Is it because you felt left out of the planning?" "I didn't take it," I said, but even to my own ears my voice sounded reedy and desperate. That was the brilliance of her setup. By the time the crime happens, your reputation has been so thoroughly dismantled that the truth sounds like a poorly rehearsed lie. Clara sat next to my mother, rubbing her back. "Dad, don't be hard on her," she pleaded, though her eyes were locked on mine, gleaming with a cold electric triumph. "You know how she gets when she feels pressured. She probably didn't even realize she was doing it. It's an impulse thing. Remember the incident with the silver spoons 3 years ago?" The incident she referred to had been another of her plans, one I'd never been able to disprove. "I didn't take those either," I snapped, and immediately I saw Mark flinch. Clara had won. She had provoked the unstable reaction. She looked at Mark with a silent, mournful nod, as if to say, "See, this is what I've been telling you about." Mark looked away, his jaw tight, his silence a more brutal rejection than any shout could have been. The second, the childhood lab, Barnaby, and Bleach. The slow-motion train wreck of my reputation wasn't a series of accidents. It was a curriculum designed by a master. It started in the childhood lab of our shared bedroom. I remember being 7 years old, standing over the bathroom sink, holding the soggy, chemical-smelling remains of Barnaby. He was my favorite stuffed rabbit, the only thing that made the night terrors go away. Now, his white fur was yellowed, the fabric disintegrating in my hands. Clara had found me there. She didn't scold me. She held me while I sobbed, her small hand stroking my hair with a rhythm that felt less like comfort and more like a countdown. "You're so clumsy, Sarah," she told our mother later that evening. her eyes wide and wet with performative sympathy as she presented the ruined toy. She must have dropped him in the cleaning bucket while she was playing. I tried to save him, Mom, but I was too late. I'll help her get over it. I'll be the strong one. That was the first time I felt the invisible cage. It was a brilliant, recursive loop. Every time she hurt me, she followed it with a rescue that made me look incompetent and her look saintly. If I fell, it was because she had tripped me, but because she was the one who bandaged my knee. No one believed I hadn't simply stumbled over my own feet. Third, the middle years, shredded silk and London fog. By 18, the stakes had graduated from toys to my very future. The prom dress wasn't just fabric, it was my freedom. I'd worked 3 after-school jobs, scrubbing floors, filing papers, skipping lunches. To buy that seafoam silk, I wanted to look like someone who belonged in the light, someone who wasn't just the troubled sister. When I found it shredded in the back of the closet, soaked in black India ink that looked like a spreading oil slick, I didn't scream. I went numb. I knew the rhythm by heart now. Clara didn't wait for me to discover it. She went to the school counselor first. The pressure of being perfect is just too much for her, Clara sighed, her hand resting on my shoulder in the counselor's office, like a lead weight pinning me to the chair. She's started acting out self-sabotage, the doctors might call it. She destroyed her own dress just so she wouldn't have to go. She's so fragile, you see. My parents didn't look for the ink bottle in Clara's room. They looked for a therapist for me. They looked at me with pity, which is a far more effective cage than anger. Then came the London letter. This was the moment I thought I had finally broken the tether. I had earned an internship at a prestigious gallery in South Kensington. I had my bags packed, my passport tucked into my jacket, my soul already halfway across the Atlantic. But Clara, acting as my primary caregiver, while our parents were traveling through Europe, sent a confidential assessment to the university's board. She used the letterhead from the therapist she'd insisted I see. She spoke of my unstable history, my frequent dissociative episodes, and suicidal ideations. She framed it as a plea for help. I'm terrified for her safety if she's left alone in a foreign city. The internship was revoked. I stayed in that house, a ghost haunting my own life, while Clara brought me tea and told the neighbors how brave she was for looking after her troubled sister. The final sabotage. Mark was the only thing I had left that she hadn't touched, or so I thought. He was kind, grounded, and for a moment I thought he saw the real me. But Clara was too smart to try to sleep with him. That would be a clickly. Instead, she worried about me to him. Is Sarah sleeping okay? She'd ask him over coffee, her brow furrowed in elegant concern. She gets so manic when she is off her meds. Just be careful, Mark. She has a history of making things up when she feels cornered. She'll tell you, I'm the villain, but please, just stay patient with her. She planted seeds of doubt like hemlock in a garden. By the time the golden ring appeared in my purse at the anniversary party, Mark didn't even defend me. He didn't ask for my side of the story. He just looked at me with a weary, practiced disappointment. He'd been conditioned by 2 years of her concerns to expect the worst of me. In his eyes, I wasn't the woman he loved. I was a project that had finally failed. The mirror cracks, the revelation of the mask, the recording on my phone, was supposed to be my silver bullet. I had been carrying it for weeks, waiting for the moment she would get sloppy. I caught her in the hallway, right after the ring incident. When she thought she had finally won, I caught the shark eyes, that cold, empty look she only showed me. I caught the admission of 20 years of psychological warfare. I wanted to erase you, she had whispered on that tape. And the best part is, they'll thank me for doing it. I played it for my parents. I waited for my parents. I waited for the hug, the apology, the moment the scales would fall from their eyes. But Clara had built a fortress of good girl optics that a 30-second clip couldn't breach. She simply collapsed into a chair, sobbing into her hands. "She's been practicing with those AI voice apps," Clara cried. "She's trying to destroy me because she's hurting." My parents didn't hear a confession. They heard my aggression. They saw her tears. So I left. I disappeared into a new life, 3 states away. But here is the part Clara didn't plan for. A parasite needs a host to stay healthy. Without me there to play the problem child, Clara's mask had nothing to hide behind. About a year after I left, the reports started trickling in through a distant cousin. At first, it was small. Clara became overwhelmed with the chores she used to do so selflessly. She started snapping at our mother. But the true reveal happened at my mother's 60th birthday. Without me to blame for the stress, Clara's control began to slip. She had organized the party, but when the caterer made a minor error with the cake, the saintly Clara vanished. She didn't just get upset, she became a monster. She screamed at the staff until they walked out. She threw a wine glass at the wall, a glass that shattered near my mother's feet. Our parents watched in stunned silence. For the first time, there was no Sarah to point to. There was no difficult sisters to blame for the tension. There was only Clara, her face twisted in a rage that looked nothing like the golden child. Then the final blow came from an unexpected place. Grandmother's jewelry box. Our mother was looking for a pair of earrings when she found a hidden compartment. Inside weren't just the earrings, but a collection of items that had gone missing over the years. My old school awards I thought I'd lost. A letter from London addressed to me that had never been opened. And most damningly, a small, half-empty bottle of Black India ink. My mother is a quiet woman, but she isn't stupid. She looked at the ink, then at the shredded remains of my life she'd watched Clara help me through. She finally saw the architecture of the lie. She didn't call me to apologize. Not yet. She was too ashamed, but she did stop answering Clara's calls. The freedom of the ghost. Clara is still in that house, figuratively. She has the sapphire ring, but she has no one to admire it. Mark left her 6 months after I did. Apparently, once the unstable sister was gone, Clara started finding instability in him, too. The predator is getting hungry, and there is no prey left in the cage. She is a queen of a kingdom of ghosts. I am not a failure. I'm a witness, and for the first time in my life, when I take a breath, the air is clean. It belongs entirely to me. If the person everyone in your life trusted most told a lie about you that sounded exactly like the truth, how would you prove you still existed?